How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another Bitcoin update. And we can actually see my prediction played out exactly. Not only did I call the bottom here, but the top of the move, because after meeting my target, we now see Bitcoin dumping back down. Fear not, in today's update, I'm going to show you all the levels Bitcoin needs to use as pivot points to head back up and make new all-time highs to target this inverse head and shoulders patterns, target 120k. Of course, it's not yet valid, so that's why at the moment by completing this short-term move up, we now need to discuss those supports. So first of all, if we go back a few weeks, as I started to identify Bitcoin was bearish on this red candle, I was projecting that 100k would act as the pivot point where bulls would step in and pretty much force a bottom, at least in the short term. We had another rally up, and I had already placed this red box before the move actually managed to reach it. So with my fibs, it gives me a targeted area which will lead to a bias. So if this area is support, I have a bias of these bullish targets. Before it is support, then I don't have that expectation of higher. So we just pumped into that area and got rejected. And if we want to show signs of progress to get out of this mess for 100k to be the bottom, then the 886 fib 104.6k had to be where it found support. And it once again used that area as a pivot point for the bulls to step in and push it back to the highs. Once again, failing to break through that red resistance box. But why do I have my arrow not exactly on the red box? Why is it specifically there? It's because this red box was that previous Fibonacci, but where my arrow actually lies is the current fib, which you can see it tapped into the 786. It just shows you how important the Fibonacci strategy is. I have it in written format in my ebook. That's 20% off at the moment. Or if you want to jump in a call with me, half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, 5 hours. Obviously, a 5 hour call would be split up, but there are multiple options. It's all 20% off at the moment until Monday next week. Go ahead and check my website out, links down below. But you can see here the importance is pulled back all the way down after reaching that area. We need to see that area flipped into support. So I've just readjusted that red box to tap into that new micro fib. But what I'll also do is drag it upwards. So we're actually creating a box between two separate fibs now. We just know that at some point 108.9, so that's what I've just been calling 109k, all the way up until 110.6 is resistance. We're waiting for that to flip into support, and once that is the case, we have a validation of this pattern, and then we should meet the pattern's target. You can see there's a big red box here, so that comes from both sets of fibs. So we're just seeing, it's called confluence, a lot of things tying up into this area just to suggest it's a resistance point. Once Bitcoin's in price discovery mode, we don't have any previous historical data to know what is going to be resistance. So we can only gauge that through patterns. So we've got this potential bullish pattern down over here, even with the market coming down a bit over the past week, we've still got this potential bullish pattern here, okay? Inverse head and shoulders pattern, or just a potential double bottom here forming. That is your neckline. So we need to pretty much just break this red out of this red box, which also so happens to be the golden pocket. And then we're targeting this area anywhere between 117 to 125k is where it's going to get rejected. But the specific measured target and the macro 1272 is in alignment. So that is the exact pinpoint price we'd be looking at. But just understanding is this general area. Now, it's fun talking about it going up in the future, but it's all about maintaining the support. And if I were to bring your attention to a clearer chart, going back now to January's all-time high, January of this year, 109.58k, we can see not even too long ago, just a week or two back, I made a post on Twitter and must have made a video that the previous all-time high is now flipped into support because we're getting this Japanese candlestick pattern called a bullish hammer, or bullish spinning top. Anyways, this is a signal for continuation. If we're turning a previous resistance now into support, because the wicks to the downside meant that it actually did break down during the day, but by the end of it, it actually closed back above, signifying the bull stepped in to protect this level now as your bottom. But the very next day, you can see momentum was completely lost. We didn't get any follow through, and then eventually closing back underneath that wick. Now I want to see closes beneath that wick to actually signify the dump, because this very next candle we saw, although it closed back under 109k, could have actually broke out again the next day. Why? Because on that bullish candle the day before, confirming at support, the bull stepped in from down over here. So that's the level I need to see the bulls protecting. And you can obviously see that over the past few days, that area is now flipped into support, into resistance, my apologies, which is also that 786 fib exactly. So it just means Bitcoin is now looking for support. Again, it looks like the 55 moving average. Going back to that other chart over here, you can see that it's just in and around this 100 to 104.6k area. We're right now at 104.6k. If I were to overlay some shorter term fibs for support now, it's pretty much suggesting we really need to find support above 100k. Otherwise, we're going to correct down towards these price targets. Now you've got further confluence with these price targets down here. If you remember, as we were coming back down from this red box initially, even though I was saying 104.6k needs to be where we bounce, needs to be where we high low, and that's what has of course happened. But as we were coming down, the risk is we might lose this low, and this area would be the targets. We just have further confluence now. Essentially getting rid of this, the macro supports would say a move that loses 100k would start a trend downwards towards 95, 94k. But now with that Fibonacci, thanks to this move up being completed, I have to literally wait for a dip to start. Then I can place this fib. So you have to wait for the move to be completed. And then it comes down into key levels of support. So let me just mark that general area for you right there. Make it gold so you can see it's overlapping with my green box. So it's saying that support has to be found above 100k. Otherwise, you can see these other targets down over here now, even slightly above 94, 95. So this is just confluence. If that low is lost, if 100k is lost, we're dipping down into there. However, right now, even though we held 104.6k exactly as support, we don't see any candles closing under. There are some wicks, but that doesn't matter. We're looking for candles closing above this point. Let me just get rid of that now because it's just getting in the way. But even though the true support is the 886 fib, just like those previous examples we were talking about, we have to mark out those wicks. The previous example I was giving was there. We need to see it close under the wicks. So I need a body candle close beneath this. The 55 moving average is there also. So if the pivot point is not now, it should be from 100 to 0.4k, 102.3, 102.4. Let's just now double check if this lines up with any of the micro fibs. And this has another thing acting as confluence, that 786 Fibonacci. So this is essentially the lowest we really want to see bodies getting down to. We don't want to see any closes underneath this area. It's fine to have a candle throughout its day going under, but for that daily candle close, it needs to get back above. Guys, that is it from me today. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. If you want to get educated, I've got 20% off my website. Use the code Bitcoin, all capitals, or the link is found in the pinned comment section, already applying the discount.